Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, good afternoon to everyone, or good morning, or what else. Thanks for attending to this webinar, where we would like to update you as a customer or Maximo business partner about some Maximo related evolution. As you can see in the agenda, I will spend very few seconds to tell you who we are. And as per program, we will cover two specific topics. I will personally talk about MaxUp, which is a framework to enable a nimble and sustainable mobility on Maximo. And later, Bruno will deepen the new MxLoader version's functionality. Gian-Giacomo already explained, we have a question and answer that we'll manage as we did in the past, trying to answer to your question. And in case you will raise many of them, we will be able to give you offline in the following days, the formal answer. So let me tell you very briefly who we are. Omninex is a more than 20 years old company, originally operating mainly in the local ICT market, where we have consolidated experience mainly in IT service management, process and solution as Jira, Atlassian, ServiceNow and IBM platforms, and infrastructure services and application monitoring. But during the last 6-7 years, we lived a significant transformation, extending our footprint also to specific industrial vertical sector. And we are talking about the enterprise asset management sector, today widely asset performance management sector, with ISO 55000 consultancy support services and solution implementation deployment, mainly with the IBM technology, Maximo. System engineering with ISO 15288 consultancy support services and solution implementation deployment, mainly with IBM JADS or DOORS platforms, but not exclusively IBM. And the third is crisis management with ISO 22301 consultancy support services and solution implementation deployment with our own platform called ERD, Emergency Response Director. These three matters are complex as they are, but today IoT or emergency technologies are bringing on the table bigger and potential newer opportunities. So the digital transformation message is more and more central for the organization and the value they do generate. But on the same time, the same message is generating to them a lot of pressure, a sense of urgency. Following such an evolution, such a change of sense of urgency, we mutated, and we are still continuously mutating from the original system integration notation to a vertical business process consultancy rather than the application consultancies. And we are doing this over local boundaries, collaborating with IBM or other software vendors or main system integrators or consultancy entities on a worldwide level. Going to Maximo, one of our dreams is to solve some of the most boring, annoying problems that customers are reporting to us day after day regarding Maximo itself. And so we have focused till now on two areas. The first is making Maximo truly accessible from mobile. The second is enriching Maximo with advanced graphics to support easier planning and data analysis. We'll be inviting you later, this queue, to a webinar dedicated to advanced chart, but let's focus now on the apps. So the first question is why we did it, why we thought it was the moment to act. For sure, our feeling is coming from the local market, but working outside our boundaries, we are collecting similar feedbacks from different markets. So we believe the topic should be interesting regardless of the geography. In the last 12 or 16 months, much more than in the past, to be honest, mobility is no more a nice to have for most of the organization. They need to handle a quite pressing transfer knowledge issue. And this is due to a very high workforce turnover that has been introduced by retiring acceleration programs everywhere in Europe and quite unexpected low results in the young employees' retention, which means for the organization losing skills and missing capacity. So they are being forced to outsource to external third parties some maintenance activities even if not fully expected by design or by strategy. And this is going to significantly increase their services related cost. Obviously, there are no, let's say, huge value chain standpoint changes. Every organization is ever and ever under pressure, looking for asset availability and reliability maximization, capital investment on physical asset reduction, workforce optimization, spare part inventory improvements, waste and risk mitigation elimination, everything you perfectly know. Organizations, it seems, are finally realizing how expensive it is to collect and track data with traditional approach, vintage approach, which means paper, Excel, or delayed back office. But it's not only a matter of cost, it's above all a matter of quality. Such traditional practice of approach deprive the engineering department of a significant percentage of data, without which their decision-making ability is surely impaired. When all is said and done, there is another significant point. So many times, at least locally, we have been told sentences like, our workforce is not born digital, is too aged, union constraints will never allow us to introduce technologies like mobile, which are perceived only as a greater people control, or introducing mobile technology means introduce remote working issue, and we are not ready to this on a legal or contractual point of view. And the news are the COVID-related situation and the smart working approach did cancel such alibis in 4 months. So without friction of alibi, every customer feels the urgency, and the urgency regards every actor, every people in working around assets. I don't believe it's the case to repeat what a mobile technology can bring on the table for these people, for this role in terms of value. The target, the urgency is to make all these people connected to Maximo ever with a simple, agile, and well-accepted user experience. Even considering the large Maximo customer population, why the Maximo mobilization has been so slow in the past? What we usually hear from customers on a daily basis is that the available Maximo mobile solutions are heavy, inflexible, tough to be adapted or maintained, not so performing when offline situations occur, and above all, expensive. On this last point, let me say, customers usually understand that the mobile access to Maximo cannot be free, so cannot be considered with a business to consumer approach. So they would accept to pay for it, but very frequently they feel unsustainable what required by the available solution compared with the value. So once said why, you say the second question is how we did it. So from an architectural point of view, we designed the framework to be fully compliant with the Maximo standards in terms of technology, application approach, and security guidelines, inheriting business logics, rules, and process behaviors, not replicating them within the apps. Talking, for example, about security, which is a very central topic nowadays, you perfectly know, working with the apps overlaps working with Maximo 100%. And this approach has been approved already and certified by local or international companies with very strict security guidelines. The apps are today available for iOS and Android on the Apple Store and Google Play. No technical reasons about Microsoft Mobile today and availability. That's obviously absolutely feasible. It's only a matter of opportunity. The only reason why we didn't invest to publish the apps on the Microsoft Store till now is simply because no customer have since now requested. From an application or functional point of view, we focus on some aspect. We all know when implemented that it doesn't exist in the world a Maximo equal to another one. Every single customer has deeply configured and customized his own Maximo. So introducing the apps cannot require further changes or configuration or worse customization only to let them run. Most of the customers, let me say finally, after more than 15 years, utilize the workflow. So introducing the apps absolutely means leverage all the process and application business automations handled within the workflow itself. Today, what we are looking in the market, more and more customers are investing or planning to do it around recognition technologies. So introducing the apps cannot exclude any single technology available on the device. And we told about the tricky offline mode of the available solution. Today, the connection technology are more and more available, but some specific sector, for example, all the energy utility sectors, cannot guarantee it 100%. So the requirement still does exist indeed. Sometimes it's urgent, so it must run like clockwork on the apps. Last but not the least, what did drive us in terms of go-to-market model and strategic approach? First of all, the price. In order to countermine the negative feeling above mentioned, we put in place a double approach, a quite aggressive price policy for those that are starting, regardless their size, and a volume involved rewards with tires related significant reduction growing the volume. In few words, better than carry only about big customers with big volumes. Let me say we would like to evangelize the market simply because all customers need it, regardless their size and their location. Second of all, the app licensing model fits 100% with the Maximo licensing rules in order to avoid the customer fall in any misunderstanding or tricky situation about contractual licensing compliance. Last but not least, we don't want MaxApp introduce a vendor locking scenario. We would like customers, if able, or if they want, but above all the other Maximo partners or system integrator to leverage such an opportunity by their own customers autonomously, with our role strictly restricted to a simple software vendor support as IBM. That's why the apps have been designed in order to be adaptable, shadowing some way what standard Maximo makes available to do it in a sort of database and UI configuration, scripting, and so on. There is a documentation public for users and for admin, which can drive anyone in the app's management and tailoring utilization by himself. So before having a live flower with the apps, let me introduce them in a brief overview. We are talking today about 18 apps, but let me say this is more and more dynamic, and you can see them on the slide, group by family, by macro processes involved. The operations family groups those apps dedicated to the maintenance operation processes. I don't believe it's the case. I will explain each one. It's quite clear for everyone working with Maximo. The engineering family groups those apps dedicated to the technical team managing the asset and location master data registry. And this is quite nice. You see there are two apps, one for asset and the other one for locations, and they are doubled. And the double up with the little eye that I hope you can see with my mouse is in order to comply with the express user definition of Maximo. There are many people on the field that they do not have any right to change the registry of the asset or to modify the data of the master data of the asset or the location, but they absolutely need to see the information when they are on the field. So this app has been designed in a read-only way, so they replicate exactly the functionality of the main asset and location app, but not making available any update, being so compliant with the express use licensing definition by IBM. The supply chain family groups the apps dedicated to the inventory. You see there are 5 apps, one for each one of the main transaction, usually inventory clerk perform during the working day in their storeroom, in their inventory location. There is one app today related to the supply chain, dedicated to the purchase requisition approving, but the supply chain family will be very probably will grow very probably this quarter, adding up for a very light and nimble purchase order and invoice approval by mobile on the field. We end with some apps not strictly related to the maintenance process, but can be used, that are already used to cover some specific cross requirements. And I would like to focus on the first two. The first one is a very light audit inspection module. And the second one is able to, let's say, let the customer run, analyze a very complex inspection of audit questionnaire or templates, which cannot be easily, let's say, covered from a functional point of view by the standard Maximo inspection application and work centers. The trip log is a very light and easy app used by the drivers of one of our customers in order to store, register at the end of each shift trip some information like mileage, if not connected, or the money spent refilling the fuel and so on. So let me, I'm trying to show on your screen my mobile phone. You should see now. And this is what we call the star center of the apps. The star centers can show smaller icons or bigger icons, depends on what your aesthetic desire. I personally do prefer this form because usually in the reality, user, they do not have access to more than 2 or 3 apps. So it's easier to see bigger icons with the badge enhancing the number of relevant records related to the app. Obviously, every one of you probably has done some demo on Maximo. It makes no sense to have 174 work orders waiting for my approval, but it's the typical question coming from any Max demo. And obviously, we cannot go in deep end today, the 18 apps. My goal is to give you a look and feel flavor about them, leverage the first 2 that are, by the way, the most adopted: service request and quick reporting. And we will be obviously available and glad to deepen any detail with every one of you if required. Bruno will give you some details at the end of his speech. What you see on the screen in red is the standard application UI we designed. Obviously, colors, icons, company logos can be very easily tailored for any customer. For example, any customer using this app today has the app in the typical brand corporate color. That's normal. And so it means that you can adapt and tailor this information. So let me take in my hand the phone. And when you tap on the icon on an app, so I'm tapping on the service request, almost all the apps start exactly as Maximo start, with the list view, with a list of what we call card. Card are these sort of square where are summarized the most significant or most relevant information regarding the record you are looking for. And the form of the card and the content of the card can be very easily configured, as in Maximo is, adding, hiding, or changing the position of the fields in order to make able the organization to put on the hands of the technical people all the relevant information for their work. How do you work in the list of the service request? Exactly as in Maximo. So you can leverage the query of Maximo, or for example, you can work with filtering, leveraging NFC if in, or scanning. So let me do, for example, I'm scanning, tapping on the icon, scanning the barcode you see on the screen. And I'm selecting one of the most famous centrifugal pump of Max Demo, which is 11430. And when I click filter, I'm reducing the number of cards only to the records, obviously, which are has been open to the asset 11430. When you tap on the car you want to work on, you see the detail of the service request. And again, this is the standard Maximo profile. With simple configuration, it's possible to add, hide, make mandatory, or make read-only any field. Regardless, it's a standard Maximo field or is a custom new fields you have created in order to answer to specific requirement of your implementation of your organization. And I believe every one of you knows perfectly the content of each one of the fields, so I don't want to repeat something is obvious. I would like to say we leverage all the technology within the device. So you, for example, you can directly call the requester or each one of the people involved in the process, or you can burn an email, send immediately an email to him, obviously if in the person MBO, the details on the email address and the phone number has been declared. You can set the GPS coordinate. There are some customers, they want it automatically, so they want to use the GPS as one of the proof of the real certification of the fact that I was on the place to do the intervention. So some customer is asking to make read-only and automatic the latitude and longitude determination, or some other customer asking us to say, no, leave to the customer with this icon to select. And as soon as you fill the coordinates, you can use the standard default app you are using in your mobile phone in order to, let's say, get visual indication, easily reach the place or get the optimal path to reach the related location. This is the building where I live. I don't think it's so important for anyone. Another point is the attachment. Obviously, people on the field need to access to all the documents they should be able to access when they are working on their desktop or Maximo. So the attachment can be easily, this is what I see from my kitchen, so by the picture. But what is important is that the attachment can be created on the fly, adding one of the existing file on your device, or picking one of the media, photo or of movie already registered in your gallery, or most in the case, shooting on the fly a picture or taking a very brief movie in order to better explain what's happening. And that is making able to a lot of customer, covering a lot of use case like typical maintenance service request or production critical situation, safety, potential dangerous cases or situation. We have a customer registering theft of material within an attending sites very easily, or other launching the access authorization process to their sites, sending the picture of the people and the documentation, having able to get the badge or the permit already printed as soon they get the sites the first time. And obviously, if I go back to the list of the service request, you see there is this red button with plus that make available creating a service request directly on the fly with Maximo. Let me move now to a little bit more complex application, which is the quick reporting. For every one of you, this is making available almost the totality of the functionalities in the WO track application on Maximo. When you tap on the icon, exactly as I did before for the service request and exactly for the approach philosophy for any app, you can see a list of cards. Again, you can change the content of the card very easily, and you can select within one of the query you have available on Maximo, or you can filter the record exactly in the same way we have already seen previously on the service request app. There is a new functionality that's been made available in the latest version, last December. You see the work order 1006. The card has been enriched with the yellow icon, which highlights the user, which is on the field, that on the specific work order, there are safety-related indications. So talking in Maximo language, it means there are hazards, lockout, tagout procedures rather than precautions registered in the safety plan tab of Maximo. And when the technician tap on that card, you see that before going the detail of the work order, we show the hazards, classifying by removable or not removable. and the customer can go in the details, look in the detail of the lockout tagout procedure rather than in detail of the precaution, like the gloves in this demo example. And some customer pretend that no one is able to work within the work order in real execution without having explicitly confirmed they took vision of this data. So some other customer, they want to give the possibility to customer to confirm or not. In this example, this customer, they want that no one can start to work without having formally confirmed they get vision about the risk. So clicking on confirm, I finally go in the work order. Again, as I told you before, the standard Maximo profile, you see. With the simple configuration, it's possible to add, hide, make mandatory, and change with the standard Maximo fields or new custom fields. And as you can appreciate, the app inherits the Maximo business logic. For example, this work order is in progress. So if in Maximo you have decided that there is no way to change the asset number or the location indication, rather the job plan, in this case, the app make them gray, so read-only. So you are able, you can change only the information that Maximo should make able to change from the desktop. You can access exactly to the same technology you have seen, like attachment, signature, GPS, email, phone, NFC, or scan. And I would like in this brief overview to give you a real flavor let's concentrate on the menu. If you click on the menu button, you see all the action available to the user. Also, first of all, as in any demo, you say, don't be worried. So I've never seen any customer working and using 100% of the functionality made available by Maximo. It means that every user will see only the action which are available following the signature security that's been defined for him, or depending on the process organization the company has decided to apply. Anyway, in a demo environment, you see all the options today available. Again, I don't think it's the case to explain to you what's downtime, safety plan, communication. So I avoid to go into the details of any functionality, but will concentrate on some specific topic which make the application very appreciated by the customer. First of all, the workflow. As in Maximo, you can progress the approval workflow on a work order, both with the manual activity, clicking on the change status action, or for example, in a standard WO track application, clicking on the approve, initiate, complete, and so on. Or in alternative, and is much more frequent, as I told you before, interact with the Maximo workflow engine. So this work order, that is the 1006, is not in the workflow, and you can realize it because the icon where I have the mouse in the status bar in the high part of the screen is disabled. That's the reason why you see the complete action. If the work order was within the workflow, you shouldn't see the complete task and the icon was enabled, and clicking on the enable, you should have exactly the same experience you have when you click the icon workflow progress or forward within the Maximo workshop. Another quite interesting stuff is related to the labor reporting. If you click on the labor reporting action, the system shows you the list of the already reported lab transactions. So you see the people, the labor, when it did start, when it finished, eventual remarks. And clicking with yes, you can simply add a new labor transaction record, exactly as you do with the actual material labor tab, within the WO track. But what the customer asking us is to add what we call the start and stop mechanism. So you see the icon clock on the top of the screen, and clicking the icon appearance will change. so the people can click start and stop and click in, for example, for a lunch break or for because someone is calling them, moving to another work order in another location for priority reasons. But the start and stop is storing with precision exactly every single working slot the people are working on, and storing obviously the transaction within the lab trans exactly as you were working with the new record within Maximo. Another, let me say, quite specific, interesting stuff done with the app is related by the material. Exactly as for the labors, when you click on material, you see the list of the material that has been already declared as utilized on this work order, but you can add a new one. When you add a new parts, Maximo usually asks you if you are using a classified item, a stored item, a managed item, rather than a generic material. And for example, if you click on item, you can choose not only with the traditional way, so with filtering or scanning or tagging with an FSC, but you can even use the planned material approved on the work order. So you click and you select rather than the spare part list that are being declared within the asset that is related to the work order. Another, let me say, quite interesting change if compared with the traditional Maximo utilization is, sorry. I lost the reports. Okay, sorry. One quite interesting stuff is related to the management of the task. Obviously, if the work order has been assigned to a job plan, clicking on the task, simply you see the list of the task that belongs to the job plan associated to work order. Again, you can decide what include or not in the card. But what has been asked by the customer is sometimes is required by customer to the people working on the field to expressly declare the completion of single task. So if you see the task ID 50 and you swipe with your fingers on the screen, you can physically, with a single click, declare the completion of the task. And now I am online, so the green means that Maximo has already stored the information about the task that has been completed. I don't want, let's say, to go in further details about the report downtime rather than meters, because it's quite obvious what the apps can do. I would like to finish this very light look and feel flavor, talking about the communication log. It's quite bizarre because till 1 year ago, I've seen very few customers working with communication log. And in the last year, every customer is, maybe we have been better in explaining them the value of the functionality, but in the last year, the frequency and the number of customers using this functionality is really, really growth. So we decided to add this functionality, and you can very easily create a new log that will be included in the tracking log and auditable on tracked exactly as for the business reason that are used. To end my very brief demo, I would like to tell you the last thing. We start talking from the HSC, so the safety related argument or topics, and I'll be back again to this. If you click on this action, you see again what is shown when you start to work with the work order. But one of the things that we added to the standard Maximo functionality is coming from requirements coming from more than one customer. And obviously, not only for licensing reason, let's say on behalf of IBM, but for regulatory stuff, organizational rules, on internal process, usually technicians on the field are not allowed to modify or create new others instances in the libraries, rather than create a new precaution instance in the libraries, rather than create new logout, tagout procedures in the library, because this is something very strictly related to the quality, safety, and HCSC department. But if you think that the people on the field are the first actor of a movie where they are the first people able to detect a problem, to identify a potential risk, to identify a potential situation where something is going wrong. So why don't allow the people to communicate to the entire organization or to the other people that we work on the same work order or in the same place tomorrow? There is something strange. So we added a functionality that is adding a new risk. That is simply a free text information that, let me do additional hazard 14 January. When you save, you see that the person see the risk that inserted. It can eventually modify if there are any error of swiping. It can even cancel them. But what is important that obviously these two additional risks that you see on the screen has not been created at hazard level because it's regulatory not admitted, or sometimes it's not admitted by the licensing terms because an express user, a maintenance users cannot update or insert or save data within the hazard library, but they have been saved within the log registry of the information. So everyone will work on the same place with the same asset, or will collaborate with the current user with on the same work order. In a further moment, we will be able to see these informations. So as you can imagine, we should stay 5 hours in front of the apps. My personal goal was to tell you the story, the origin, how we design it and how it's easier. I give you the last 2 dates. Today, 48 seconds is the average time of opening a service request on the field, including a picture from our customers. And 1 minute and 50 seconds is completing a work order reporting, at least with labor, material, and failure analysis. That is very, very well appreciated. Is increasing roughly 25% the number of work orders. That, as you know, it doesn't mean that the machine or the equipment are going to be broken 25 times more, but it means that you were losing 25% of the data that's critical for your engineering. Let me say, I will leave the stage to the professor, Bruno, to let him talk about the MxLoader, and I will be ready for any question in the Q&A or in the future, obviously.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. So I have to share my screen. Gian Giacomo, could you please? Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So welcome. It's going to be a quite quick presentation regarding the latest version of MxLoader that will be released today, tomorrow, let's say, in next few hours. So it has some interesting features that I'm going to present. So first of all, the latest updates that were released in version 8. So version 8.1 was released last summer. And actually the big change in that one, in that version, was the full full support for REST APIs. So there are two kind of communication types to the server. So it's supporting object structure service or REST APIs. Then a API authentication as well, and more secure way of storing passwords. That was one of the annoying situation happening in the previous version, where passwords were put in clear in the configuration sheet. In version 8.2 we had a few more improvements, like a correct time zone handling, handling also half an hours, like in India, for example, to manage situation for some countries around the world. And now I'm going to release version 8.3, which has been, let's say, developed based on some needs we had to load a large set of data. So it has basically a progress dialog, which is very useful when you upload, when you synchronize more than, let's say, 1,000 records or up to thousands of records into Maximo. And also I have restored, let's say, a function that was available in older version of MxLoader, which is the sync action I'm going to show and explain. So there are few more important fixes in the latest version, which makes more stable to work and reliable to work with the REST APIs. So it's the refresh data dictionary is now working also with REST. There were some characters that were not explained, escaped correctly in previous version, and some very minor problem that have been fixed. So what about the progress dialog that I was explaining before? There are mainly one. The first one is only it's a kind of fake progress, because we don't have any progress, but it's displaying that MxLoader is working, as asked for data to Maximo, and is busy waiting the Maximo to respond back when using the query action. When you are sending data to Maximo instead, using add and change actions, we have a more detailed progress dialog that will show the number of records that are already processed, the remaining records in the queue, the total number of rows, and also some statistics about elapsed time and remaining time. So if you have a batch uploading thousands of records, you will have an estimation of how much it will take to complete that job. Okay, and this is very useful when it's one hours or more the elapsed time, so you know when it's going to finish. The sync action, it's quite tricky. I decided to remove that one because it's not supported by REST API, so to kind of harmonize, but we had the need to put it back. So it's only supported using object structure service, and actually allows to kind of exactly synchronize an object, a record, and all its children, its child records, exactly as it is described in the MxLoader data. So I'm going to demonstrate this to you. So in this example, we have the spare parts. The object structure is made up of the asset, which is the main object, and the child object, which is the spare part, listing all the spare parts for a specific asset. In this example, you will see that there are some rows, some spare parts related to the same asset. So the sync action will update all the child objects. So the new row, the child rows, will be created, updated, and deleted to match exactly what what MxLoader is passing to Maximo. So it must be used with caution, because allows to delete child records, or if you are using an object structure including some child objects, and you don't specify those child objects in the MxLoader, the action will delete all the child rows, basically. So it must be used with care. Then I want to just recall two small features that are now available, are quite important, I think. First of all, the MxLoader updater was already released for version 8.2, but now it's going to be released for 8.3. It's and I'm going to show how it works. So it's very easy, and now allows to upgrade any MxLoader file you have from a previous version to the latest one. Okay, it's quite useful to patch, or if you have many MxLoader sheets you're using in different situation, and you have an older version, you want to have the latest features, you can patch those files using this tool. Last one is the batch execution. This was already present, but I'm going to demonstrate it right now. I think these as well, together with the progress dialog, it's really useful when you have a lot of data to query or update, and so you can better orchestrate or organize your process to populate Maximo. So let's switch to MxLoader. So first of all, the progress dialog. So this is a sheet to query up to 500 assets. So it's going to take some time to get the response from Maximo. So if I click on the run button, it's always warning me. And now you will see that after 1 second, yes, the MxLoader will display this kind of fake progress dialog saying that it is just waiting for data. It will disappear, and then it will populate the sheet with the data received from Maximo. Another thing, it's quite useful. You can also stop the processing clicking on this button, okay, which is also quite useful. Regarding the update, this is much more interesting. So this is a node change action, and it's synchronizing many assets. Okay, it's pushing many assets. So if I run this one, you also see that those yellow boxes have an invalid status. Okay, so these rows, these records are going to fail, basically. So if I click run, the progress dialog will pop up and will display how many records have been updated, how many errors we got, how many processed rows, and the total number of rows, 500. And also I can see that it will take around 3 minutes and a half, 3 minutes and so to finish the job. Okay, the total time, it's always an estimation, so it keeps changing until the end, but will stabilize in a few seconds. So this is quite easy, useful, and I can stop as well here. It asks for confirmation if you really want to break the execution or continue processing. And again, it's whenever you have many records to update, this is really useful. For example, to have a break and have some coffee, and you know when to come back and to check if the job is finished. Okay, and this is the final result dialog. Then the synchronize action. So in this situation, we have these assets 11200. If I run the query, it will show that these asset has 6 spare parts. We can only take a look at these into Maximo. Let's open that asset. And in the spare parts, as you can see here, we have these 6 spare parts records, which are a child of the asset. So if I use the add change action, which is the standard one for updating data, and I only put 4 rows here, so only 4 spare parts, and I run this one, I will see that this is not going to change anything on the server side, because by default, the add change action will not delete any child row to the asset. Okay, but if I change this action to the sync one, then MxLoader will warn you that this will delete all the child app object not matching the input data. Okay, are you sure? And I'm answering yes. Okay, and now I can see that if I refresh the record in Maximo, I will see only 4 rows here. So the 2-1 that I've moved down here, so split it, the MxLoader will stop here, processing those 4 rows. The 4 rows are in Maximo, but the other 2 were deleted from the asset. Okay, so this is what the sync action does, and can be useful in few situations, and again, to be used very carefully. The run batch, it's another interesting feature. So you can create a new batch sheet using this button here. So it will by default put all the sheets you have, will list all the sheets you have with the existing actions. And you can decide, for example, to skip one of these, and for example, or override the action for one of them. So the first one will be the query, another query, and the last one I don't want to sync, but let's say we want to select the add change action. So by running this one, we will get a confirmation dialog, and if I click OK, they too will run each sheet one by one in sequence. And at the end, we will have a nice report of okay. So what happened is that I also have the execution time and duration for each sheet. Okay, it's useful because again, when you have some sets of data and quite large to be uploaded. Last feature is the updater. So if you go to the MxLoader download page, you will see there is the updater, the download MxLoader updater. It's just a zip file you can extract on your file system. It's looking something like this. Let me copy this this part here. So it's going to look some like this. There is a bin folder and in the script. If you run that script, it will tell you it's going to upgrade the MxLoader file and will display a file selection tool. So you navigate your file system and you select any MxLoader file. It must be at least 8.1 version. So you click that one and it's going to process a little bit, doing a little bit processing and finishing. And so if we go back to the file system, we will have the original file, a backup of the original 8.1 file, and this one is going to be upgraded to the latest version. So if I open this one, I can see that in MxLoader, in the about, this is now a version 8.3 and has been patched to the latest version. So that's all from my side. I think we have a few minutes for question and answer. I see also a question for regarding the app. So Sergio, can you please?
Yes, can you show the latest slide, please?
Yes.
Okay, so first, thank you for the patience. You see our direct email details for me and for Bruno. Any question, I would suggest to send info request to the info@omninext.com, as you can see. And thanks again for the time. We are planning to share the documentation we used during this session and maybe to give you some formal answer to all the technical question that has been raised. So looking in the list, I have a question from Paula Lin regarding the map support on your work orders. So I hope it was, let's say, earlier or earlier my explanation. So we have a full leverage of the technology that are installed on the device. So at least from the current version, you can work with the service address coordinates, latitude and longitude, and you can use what your standard map app makes available on your phone. So you directly from any application where service address makes sense, you can click open the map and use the map exactly as you do when you look for a restaurant or for an office or for what else. Regarding the question from Yuri Murvai, that is a much more complex question to give in a shot on the phone, but I will try to give you some high-level answers, and I will surely complete within the documentation we will send to you. So the apps has been developed in native Android or iOS, and they took with Maximo with the REST API. So the apps are available from Maximo 7609, and talking only with the Maxint object of the integration layer of Maximo of the integration framework. And that's central, or is a focus point in terms of security. Honestly, I don't see any reason why the app shouldn't work with the IBM control desk, but we need to do some verification. But big understood, the IBM control desk latest version makes available the same REST API. I don't see any reason why we should have problems, but it's something we need to deepen for sure, because it's the first time we do receive this question. Today, the apps are available in Italian, English, German, and French. Basically, we have a B language version that is English and Italian, including documentation in B language. But the French and the German has been added, so we have a tool to apply exactly with the same L_ object name strategy that Maximo utilized. So the multi-language is exactly, so if you have any specific requirement, we are ready to discuss with you, Yuri, about any needings. When you say custom fields, I do imagine the question is possible to consider custom field? Absolutely, yes. Any customer has custom new fields they want to see in the cards rather than in the mask, rather in any other process. So the answer is yes. And the strategy is be able to add the fields within a sort of database configuration without redeploying the app. So excluding the nightmare of the redeploy of the app that was, for example, in the far past with the Anywhere solution. I'm sorry, I try to interpret the question number 5, which is authorization process, in 2 different angles. So from a licensing point of view, any one of the users being let's say total compliant with the Maximo model can be authorized to use, to read, and what else, exactly as you do in Maximo. So you can decide with the signature security methods what the people can do and which app they can access. We have a customer, for example, they are using the inventory stuff with the inventory clerk. Obviously, these kind of people, they see only the 5 apps of the inventory family, and other maintenance people see the asset of the work order tracking or the service request. So it's something very Maximo style. Honestly, do not understand what does it mean configure list of apps. Maybe if you can, Yuri, detail or explain better to me. Sorry for this. In the meantime, I will skip to the number 7. As I told you, one of the major reason why we have been, let me say, forced to give answer to the customer and invest development this framework was to countermine one of the major limitations we see in the standard solution. That's the price. If you think that in average, if you spend $1 for a Maximo user, so are people able to do something on 100% of the functionality of the work order tracking, for example, you have to spend $1.5 only to make available the same functionalities via mobile. So our strategy is to reduce this kind of investment to a percentage of the Maximo licensing that is about 30 to 35% for lower volume, and reducing more and more if the number of customers is growing. So we understand that there is a value, and we believe the customer need to accept there is a value, cannot be for free. But if I spend $1 for the Maximo license, where I can do a lot of stuff on desktop, with usually 0.35, I can work. It means that we have tiny customers that spend less than 5,000 euros for having the apps for the maintenance people, and obviously bigger customers are going to spend more. From a licensing point of view, there is another difference from the usual approach, the other solution you can see on the other solution on the market. We don't believe it makes sense to give a single bunch price for all the apps, because every customer, there are people using 2 apps, a few people using 2 other apps. So we decided to license each single app, and obviously increasing the number of the apps and increasing the number of the users, what I call a volume related award, is going to impact very seriously. So at the end of the day, we are going to in average, for people using a lot of apps, to reduce to 35 to 40% if compared with the standard cost of the other solution. How to get demo? That's a good question. We need to go a little bit in details, because there are different ways to do it. We can talk on this, Yuri. And if you want a standard demo in detail of all the apps, write us or answer to the mail you will receive in the next days with all the documents used during the presentation. And I will be, or someone of my colleagues will be very glad to dedicate to you some specific apps demo if you list what you are interested to, or are more detailed.
Yes, Sergio, I think the time is running out. I think that basically what we have to say, that after this webinar, all the participants will receive a link to download the presentation and some contacts to ask for more questions. So both commercial regarding the the apps, and also technical regarding the MxLoader. I'm seeing a lot of questions, technical question about MxLoader. So I'm going to, I think it's we need to arrange maybe another webcast more related to technical topics regarding MxLoader, or maybe more a deeper dive on the apps. So we will listen, let's say, to people writing to us, and arrange new calls or webinars as needed. Or we also will try to answer as much as we can by mail or on our social networks. Okay, I think I also will collect the questions in the chat, and I will try to answer on my blog or in another webinar. Okay, because there are many. It's not many questions. It's not so easy to answer all of these. Okay. So I think we can close if we don't have anything more. Last question, A3. I will publish my MxLoader A3 this afternoon. So I will announce it on LinkedIn and Twitter as always. Or maybe you go there tomorrow and you will find it.
Thank you very much for your time and for the thank you are writing on the chat. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.